Alhamdulillah wa Rabbil Alameen. Akibatun lil Mustaqim. Wala Ruhwana ila ala Dalimeen. Muhammadan huwa Sayyidina Mekbubana. Kana Sayyidina Mursaleen. Salawatu. Allah Ta'ala wa salamuhu alayhi. Halin salim bikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Wa anjurama to my Fulbe community and to all my brothers and sisters everywhere you may be. And give you my proper felicitations. Salamu alaikum rahmatullahi katu. Lil ikwani wati fi din wa salamu ala mani tabahuda. Lil ikwani wati fi Africa, Europa, Caribbean, America, wa kuli makan. My dear brothers and sisters, this is the second part to a series about the African phenomenon. And we're covering about the Dogon people because it's them that possessed an extraordinary knowledge of the interstellar space. Last week, a couple of days ago, I gave you the proof that the ancient Kemites, we know today as Egyptians, were black folk. Not only talking about their color and eyewitness accounts, but I gave you DNA testimony as well. And now I'm going to give you some others to that, which is interesting because even I have forgotten about some of this. I just take it for granted. I've forgotten about it because the enemies of the black man and the African in particular want to make sure that they keep us in a negative light by saying that we're stupid and we're ignorant and that we were eaten out of we were climbing hopping trees like monkeys and eating bananas. And then when the Toubab came, then of course he gave us how to eat like human beings and how to operate as human beings, which is nonsense. But we've had writing systems by plethora of many different groups who left Egypt. And if you saw my marquee to this program, you see Mende, Bambara, you see Fola, all had beautiful writing systems. So this is a testament to you, my dear brother, who's a black man, wherever you may be. I don't care if you're sitting in Pakistan. Yes, we're there. I don't care if you're sitting in India. I don't care if you're sitting in China. China has a black population, a native black population for thousands of years. They're still there. You have black populations in Central America and even in Mexico that's been there for centuries. And of course, in the Caribbean, even before the slave trade, we know that our brothers left West Africa on boats and ended up staying there, and they married there, and they lived there, and they died there, and they married the local Amerindian women, and so forth and so on. But this should be a testament to you to show you that you can stand up with everybody when anybody who denounces us, you can be able to go back at them with some of the information that I gave you yesterday and the information I will give you today, inshallah ta'ala. So, okay, my dear brothers and sisters, we're gonna start. I want to start to show you something. Remember, I was giving you the pyramids in Giza. Well, they found chambers inside one particular one of the pyramids in the system of the Giza system of pyramids. Okay. Inside, this is what I was trying to explain to you the other day. Inside there, these chambers here, they had, I don't know what you would call them, instruments or things. Anyway, those instruments and things were pointed to the directions of interstellar space. And so when the scientists found this and they start doing their calculations, they found it to be the case. So they used the chamber. This is the king's chamber, and these chambers are going, they could go to this one area with the naked eye, they could chart out the Osiris, the Orion, okay, and the Sirius star systems with the naked eye. Now, brothers and sisters, you heard me talk about this now a lot. How can a person that we know as a human being look up into the space with the naked eye and chart out a star system that no one can see with the naked eye unless you have the modern day telescopes, which they verified these findings by telescopes and starting in about 1850 and beyond. But African men were already looking up into the space from these areas here. You can see inside the chamber, they had these instruments pointing in the direction of star systems. And these calculations are correct. When they take the laser beams and going according to what they found in these chambers, it'll take you to these star systems. Brothers and sisters, if you really think about how astonishing this is, that Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave our ancestral brothers some tools and mechanisms that we don't have today. And this is why this is important for us, for our history and for our well-being. Because when they come after you, my dear brother, and talk about our ignorance, our stupidity, that we can't read and write, or we didn't have a history, or Egypt was theirs, you can argue with them now, and not with a gun, not violently arguing with somebody, but you can show by DNA proof and eyewitness accounts, even from the Toubab historians, that we were black. And even the proper Jewish historians, scientists, astronomers who have gigantic telescopes have now mapped up these areas. And then when they found this chamber and see the instruments, because they read inside these chambers, mapping out of the interstellar space and these things pointing to these particular star systems. So the question again goes back, who gave our African ancestors this ability? Subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know he did. Did Subhanahu wa ta'ala give it directly to them, or did he send angels to our ancestral brothers and to give them the knowledge? Our ancient brothers from Kemet said that they were visited by extraterrestrials, because it shows in hieroglyphics when they came. It shows in ships coming from the from the outer space, interstellar space, coming from there. And in writings, they talk about how they improved the civilization. They said that the pyramids were in the dimensions and calculations were given to them by these interstellar beings, who I believe that Subhanahu wa ta'ala sent, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala is said in the Quran. There's a couple of passages where experts have surmised that they were talking about Subhanahu wa ta'ala granting his permission to allow us to meet with others that he has created. Our skeptics and haters said, no, he was talking about what's on earth. That's not true, because we already see birds, we see dogs, we see fish in the rivers, in the ocean, we see insects, and we see a variety of cattle, we see different variety of things he's created. We've already seen that. We've seen this for centuries. But our scholars surmise that he was talking about there, that he's created in the space, in the interstellar space. So this is very interesting. Then on top of that, brothers and sisters, our brothers, the Dogon, this is a little bit ahead of the story, but I'm going to bring you up to speed in this. But this is the Sirius system, and you can see its size and circumference. If you go back to the Giza pyramids, okay, as I explained to you before, the dimensions that we shown here for Sirius and the sun is exactly like that I had shown you here. These certain measurements that the scientists have discovered at these pyramids and the circumferences and so forth and so on, and its measurements are exact from with this, the relationship of the sun to Sirius, the relationship from the sun to Orion. And so I don't know if many of you really grasp the significance of this, because this should give you a sense of dignity and pride that Subhanahu wa ta'ala granted you, our ancestral brothers, Black African brothers, this knowledge. Because it is astonishing to have such knowledge like this. And no one else had this knowledge, brothers and sisters. Nobody else had this knowledge. The only way the Toubab got it is when he received the information from us, when he came to visit us. We gave him the charts. We gave him the methods how we did it. They could not go from the king's chambers here in Giza, okay, and Kemet in Egypt, as we know. They cannot look up into the space and chart out the systems. They need a telescope and a powerful telescope on top of that. This is why this is so, astounding and so powerful that we have this information being given to us today. So, brothers and sisters, you look at this and you ask a question. Why are we in the state that we are today? We have illiteracy. We have a lot of things wrong. If I sit down and think about this, our ancestral brothers from eras past, if they were happily to be brought on this earth today, how ashamed they would be of us. How ashamed they would be of us. And I'll say it again, how ashamed they would be of us. Because they'll say, I left you a legacy for you to follow. I left a legacy for you to worship. I left a legacy for you to write and to communicate, and you did not use it. I feel our ancestral brothers, whether they were Muslims and Hebrew and from Kemet, okay, and I'll get into the names of some things, but we had periods of Tawheed in Kemet. We had many dynasties that were under Tawheed. So I look at it from a standpoint because I'm in the business of history as a Muslim. And I feel deeply and I feel earnestly that our ancestors who toiled the land and gave us writings and knowledge, we are not accepting that. And I feel it. When I've entered this continent, I felt it. I felt the weight of our ancestral brothers, like saying, Yahya, you go about and you give this knowledge to the rest of the masses. I felt this. This we know is coming from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because as you heard me say, yes, I had worldly education in the United States and I studied a lot. But I'm going to tell you something right now, brothers and sisters. There's no comparison than the knowledge that I received once I hit on this continent than what I did 50 years inside the United States. It's no comparison. The knowledge and the in-depth knowledge I received on this continent is amazing. And I give my shukr to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for that. There is something that is prevalent on this continent, brothers and sisters. He made it first. He put us first on this globe. He gave us knowledge that is beyond rationale that we understand today. And what are we doing with it? We're doing nothing with it. We should learn from our ancestral brothers out of Kemp and elsewhere when they talk about the laws of opposite. If you studied this on what they said, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave them the answers to this about the phenomena of the earth, okay? Where we understand that. He gave the laws of opposite, which are 4: air, water, land, and fire. That's right. And there's something behind that. To gain this type of knowledge will help you. It will even help you in your worship of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, because it will give you this knowledge, brothers and sisters, where you will then say, I see Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. He's given us this knowledge. He's given us all these creations. He's given us water. He's given us food. He's given us things that we use in order for us to understand, to worship him, to thank him for what he's given us. Not the other way around, where we worship the animals, we worship the forest, we worship the beauty that he has created. That's not what he did. See? So this is what I'm talking about. And that's why I'm on this thing about this with about our ancestral people. I've had many, I'm telling you right now, I've had many non-Africans, or I mean, now they try to find something, they want to get at me with something. Now they're with this grave worshiping. They have no proof of that. That is absolutely, I can't use bad words. It's, BS, okay? And also worshiping ancestors. If they were here, when they see me early in the morning when I make tahajjud, I'm not praying to nobody except Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. I know better. I am not a mushrikeen. I'm not among the mushrikeen. No. But see, they don't want me to talk about our ancestral brothers like I'm talking now. They want to keep that quiet. Now, if I sit up here and talk about the Toubab, none of them would say anything. That's funny, isn't it? But now I'm talking about black people, okay, and their accomplishment, and suddenly here's the equality of my talks are wrong. Let me see who we have here. And we have HD. How you doing, my dear brother? Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Why did they look at different systems in Kemp as opposed to the Dogon country? Well, yeah, because, when people, I give you an example. You go train in a school. It's no different where human nature is like this. You learn certain things, okay? But then when you leave it, you begin to develop your own systems. Sometimes those systems may be better than what your teacher gave you. And a lot of times it could be worse. So we have these variances among us. Okay, we have these variances when we get knowledge, and then when we disseminate it out, it begins to mutate. And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala talks about this type of thing in the Quran as well. He uses the word tabdal in Arabic. Okay, he uses this means to corrupt or to change something. He uses this word a lot inside the Quran, and variations of this, adjectives and so forth and whatnot. But he uses this he could use the word tagher, meaning to change. That means this normal change. Okay, I want to change my clothes or something. But he uses the word tabdal, meaning something has been corrupted and changed. So you gain knowledge from me, say you learn from me, and then when you go back, say to Alabama, the United States, you begin to change it around. This is what has happened in this situation, but the doggone is a little bit ahead of story. I'll give you what's happened to them because there's a difference that happened to them that would happen to their brothers in Kemp. Totally different. Totally different. Is a Sirius versus IEs. No, my dear brother, it's not necessarily that. What has happened is because at this time in Kemp, our ancestral brothers received a lot of information from which I surmise was Subhanahu wa ta'ala again sent perhaps angels, I say, to our black brothers and gave them all this knowledge. And he gave them the knowledge of the Orion star system, but he also gave knowledge as well of the Sirius, but not as much. And a cult developed out of this. Again, remember the word I used, tabdal, to corrupt. Subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't tell them to start worshiping those from the space. He didn't say that. Or those on land. He didn't say that. But we begin to do this. So, and you know, this is the wrong thing. Now, when we talk about the Osiris cult, which deals with this space, if I'm not mistaken, what I understand, this is Akan Osunu. Osunu is the word because it's been corrupted by the Greeks. Osunu is a Akan name. Now, if I remember correctly, Osunu means the elephant. I'm trying to remember now. But if you look at the way Osiris, okay, Osiris and Orion, I believe it came out from the Akan word Osunu. This is what I think. I could be wrong, but I think this. I heard the difference between the Kemetic belief systems and African traditional religions, voodoo, are the same except for the names. Could you speak on? There's a far difference, brother. I will get more into that as a little head of the story, but there's a difference here. When our brothers were now in the midst of all this learning, they were receiving information from the angels who gave them how to make these pyramids, gave them agricultural improvements, and they began to develop these writing systems and so forth and so on, right? They start to develop this. Human nature, again, we have some who went from that and begin what is called tempestuous arts, begin to take that and start to summons the devil. And the devil then sent his demons, we know in the Arabic language is shayateen, okay, meaning many demons, to those people. Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this in the Quran with Suleiman. We know him in English as Solomon. He corrected those of history who said that he was among those using the demons. It's not true. He said it was the demons who trained the people. And it's true because those who left from the systems, the mystery systems of Egypt, didn't teach them to go to summons the devil or to use magic on people. Yes, you had people, criminals, who did that even in those days, but that was a secret society themselves. They kept that under wraps. See, so it's a big difference in that. And the African belief systems that transpired are far different because, and you say, well, why you say that? Yeah. If you look at the systems of our brothers in Kemp, they lived by a model that was very strict. Okay, it was called the negative confessions, and there were 42 of those, and they were stringent. Don't commit adultery. You hear this before in Christianity. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. Graven images. I mean, there's a whole lot of these. And none of them specify the use of magic. None of them specified the use of the black arts or the tempestuous arts to summon the demons, or to sit there and worship to or fire and so forth and so on in order to summon the demons. Or you have a Marabot who goes and then gets this, he gives it to a man so he can throw it on a woman so she will fall in love. Our brothers who were righteous did not do this. Only those who perverted it, they did this. Yes, it's true, they did. So let me get back to this here. Now, again, my brothers and sisters, this is a complicated topic, and our brothers asking violent questions and so forth. And this is nothing wrong with that, because we all, do I know everything about Egypt? Kemp? No, I do not. No way. Matter of fact, I saw a program the other day here, or a Somali brother was talking about some scholars and about the Arabs coming and the Persians coming to visit there. And he showed the evidence and the proof, and he gave the name of the scholars. I didn't know that. I don't know everything. I stood there and attentively listened and took notes. This is how we should do, brothers and sisters, all of us. We have African brothers who talk. Don't get mad at them. Don't get jealous of them. You take the knowledge from them because they are your brothers. We can't learn everything. We need help. So when you find education somewhere, take it, because our ancestors did that. They took knowledge from predecessors. We have to do the same thing. See? So anyway, let's get back to this this here. Okay, yeah. So we'll get started here. When the Dogon people left Kemp, they left with an educational system. This is, again, brothers and sisters, what debunks the theory, and I'll get to show you that. I kind of gave you already that by my marquee, what I showed for the show today. They left with an educational system. They left with an economic system and a writing system. That's right. As you saw my marquee, I show for this program today, part 2, the writing systems and the teachings from the mystery schools. That we had our elders, Baba, okay? We had those wise men who were carefully selected, learned in these schools. And these schools were gifted, beyond belief. Again, Subhanahu wa ta'ala had his hand in this. There is where they took this information and began to disseminate a lot of it to the people. But some will say why not everybody have it. Because when the mystery school systems developed and they began to disseminate it, what happened? Juju developed. Ifa developed. Voodoo developed. Obia developed. And all these other so-called traditional African religions. They were not practiced in ancient Kemp when we left it. So they took the knowledge from the mystery schools and perverted it. Remember, Tabdal in Arabic, and Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the people doing this, because he knows a human being, because he created us. And he said that the people will take good information and corrupt it. And he warns the people, don't take his words and corrupt them. And we did that. That's why we got punished, and we're still being punished. And this was a secret society and was gifted with arts beyond belief. The Dogon people left, no different than the Bambara. All of these groups, they had different clans inside Kemp. They began to leave. The Fotofola, the Bambara, the Mende, the Mendinka, the Akan, the Tiv, the Yoruba, the Sinike. We go all the way across, all kinds of ethnic groups. And they begin to leave Messer, okay, in Arabic, Kempt, is the ancient name in the language. And they begin to what? Corrupt things. And this is why we are in trouble. But all left with these systems, as you see me right here talk about. So our African brothers and sisters everywhere had systems developed. That's why this notion that we were in trees when the Europeans found us and we were stupid, ignorant, eating bananas. We didn't know how to make fire. We didn't know how to make agriculture was not the case. That's a lie. That's not true. The Dogon traveled across the Sahara when it was lush, green, and full of game. That's true. When there was things happening in the camp, there was climate change, there was wars. Remember, you heard me say, as the lighter skinned people begin to come and begin to have wars and colonization begin to happen, our black brothers begin to go further south. And then when things start to open up, they begin to go across the Sahara, which you understand today was lush and green and full of animal game to kill, water, everything. And they kept going. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala began to open up Africa, the continent, more than they settled into the tropical areas that we know today, in the central part and in the eastern part as well. So, and now, this part here, brothers, sisters, our brother, maybe HD, was asking a question about this. Around 600 AD, the Dogon mystery system, okay, and its learned men, okay, Baba, all our wise men, and so forth who were involved in this, because only certain ones achieved this information. Not all the Dogon is gifted with this, brothers and sisters. That's not true. Those involved in the mystery systems, yes, they received this. Around 600 AD, on about, they said they were visited from interstellar space. And HD asked me a question. Now I'm gonna give it. He asked me a question about the Orion versus the Sirius versus Orion. Now this is how we got to this point. The Dogon said that they were visited from beings from the Sirius star system. Now, our brothers in camp said they were visited and they were given knowledge of the Orion system. When our brothers, the Dogon, left and he settled in modern day Mali as we know it today, they were visited by interstellar beings who came from the Sirius star system. That's the difference. They said these beings are from a star system called Sirius. They said they had an aquatic facial features and body. And he called them normal. I will get more technical in the next episode about a lot of this, brothers and sisters. Today, I'm giving you a backdrop and giving you some things about this and I'm trying to retrain your mind to think about your ancestral brothers, how they were thinking and what happened to them, who gave them this knowledge. And I'm telling you, as I say this now, when your belief system is correct, Subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you extreme knowledge. When it's not, he gives you knowledge to survive, but he suppresses it. What has happened to us? As you heard me say earlier, because we have been wrong, we have been, we have done things wrong in the eyes of Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our worshiping is wrong. We became under juju, we became under orissa, we began to do other things that Subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't approve. When they left Messer, they left Kemt. They were not juju, they were not orissa, they were not Ifa or anything like. They were not. That developed later when they came there. See, so I'm giving you some of the things here about our brothers and what happened. They called these people the normal people. They said they came from Sirius. And they said that it's them who gave them all of the ins and outs about the Sirius system. So again, brothers and sisters, this is the Orion here, and then you see the Sirius star system. And so again, to make my point to you is that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala again told our ancestral brothers, and Kemp gave them a lot of knowledge about the Orion system. Our brothers, the Dogon brothers, were given from these, they call it aquatic people, they call normal people, and gave them the Sirius information. And so this is what we know. And we know also that according to, again, brothers and sisters, the Dogon people had the information talking about the Sirius system and dimensions as in relations to the sun. And I ask you again, how did somebody, a normal human being with normal eyesight, can look up into the space and get information like this? How? See? So this is something that you have to ponder. And why I said I've been leading you up to this. You've been hearing me say for weeks, I wish our leaders would go back to the past. I've been saying this. They go back and learn from our ancestral brothers. We can cure the ills of our continent if we look at what they had did. And there's a plethora of people, even some who are Black, who are livid with me because they want to keep the system as it is, where they have the worship of the Toubab and his systems. And that we look up to him and not back at our ancestors to find out how did they manage things. And I'm going to give you something which is ahead of time, but I want to give you something, brothers and sisters. You know, in Mali, the Dogon people and there's other West Africans had this particular rice. And those who probably know about this will understand. The Phonol rice, which is a rice that is not found anywhere in the world except in an area, most likely there, Mali and adjacent areas, okay? This is a sturdy rice. Many believe this rice, it withstands all kinds of calamities, fire, drought, floods, everything was believed was brought down from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to the region. This rice is now being put back into the system because they were taking the rice from other places and trying to grow it. Now they start to go back to it. The Dogon people were ingenious because they went and kept strains of this and they still use it. And they say this rice tastes outstanding. Who knows of it? And they equate the Phonol rice, which they said the seed is so small, but it yields a lot. They say the taste is far different than any other rice that you can taste. And they equate that to Sirius. Again, brothers and sisters, they equate that to Sirius because this native rice doesn't have a brother or sister on this earth. Most rice are related, you know, like human beings. We have relations because we have blood, we have hearts, we have livers and all that. We have things that make us common and in our it's human beings, right? And rice has relationships as well. This rice here is not related to nobody. There's no rice like it from China, from Thailand. Thailand has famous rice. Matter of fact, they use the Thailand seed to put in West Africa now to replace some of the old the old rice that we were using before. But this particular rice, nobody has a relationship to it. There's no other rice, even in other parts of Africa, related to the Phonol. And who had it? The Dogon people had it. Who gave it to them? I asked that question. Who gave that to them? When everybody abused it, I don't know what they did. They began to use rice from other places. The Dogon kept it. And now it started to go back, because as the Africans start to realize now, they start to return back, they start to use this rice again. I want to taste it myself. I'm trying to make a point to you, brothers and sisters, to say to you again, we got to go back and look at things I just talked about right now. Going back to the Phonol rice. You see, going back to systems to learn, to bring our knowledge back. Most of us are illiterate today. But when we left camp, we were not illiterate, brothers and sisters. We had systems. See, we had systems that we developed, reading and writing and economic systems. So how did we become ignorant? When we left camp to come to West Africa, we had systems like this, that we had writing systems that we developed that came out of from one mother system of Egypt. So when our ancestors left camp, they had already economic systems. They already had a writing system. They had a governance system in place. What happened to us? I'm asking. How is it that when we left those areas, we had all this education? We left, we understood the laws of opposite: land, air, fire, and water, the four. And we used that. We used fire, what? To purify the land in order for our crops. You know, when we have things and to kill, like we use fire if the ground becomes contaminated, because you know what has happened. A lot of times we have some seasons where we have a lot of bugs. You can use fire on the land to kill these bugs and their seeds that go inside the ground to contaminate our cassava and our dashin and so forth and so on. Our ancestors understood this. They understood the four laws of opposite. They got that when they were there in camp. What happened to us? Why do we forget this? And why is it when the wise people, the older people, go back to the system like me, they come to tell you about it, they say this is terrorism? That's right. They say that I'm spreading terrorism. They said that I'm worshiping another human being because they want me to stop. They don't want me to give you this information about your ancestors, about the writing systems, and about the earth and the solar systems and so forth that we had. We have beautiful writing systems, brothers and sisters. Okay, we have beautiful writing systems that we took when we left there. We had these systems in place. We were not stupid. But look at us today. Look at us today. And you measure yourself with your ancestors from that time and ask a question: what happened to us? See? So here's another script. When they left Egypt. Look at the script. It's very similar to the hieroglyphics. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, I know we're gonna get people, they're gonna laugh at this off and they're gonna say, I don't care, because what I want to hear drama. I want to hear this and that. I don't care about learning about history. I don't care about learning about what our ancestors, how they were. But most of the people who are this way their intelligence is not right. Because here it should give you insight on that you can learn. Because we had the systems before. We had these systems before, brothers and sisters. We had these systems before. So let me see, we got here. Yeah, we got our brother Woody says, could you speak on the okay. I got a schedule I'm trying to keep. I wonder, brother, I wonder who you are. I really do, because there's a lot of things that you said to me, and there was another guy that wrote me too, that made some comments to me. He was talking about some things, and I was wondering where you get the information from, because I'm curious on how they got it. Because this information is not disseminated all over the place. It's there. I have it, as others that have it too. And I wonder, yes, this relationship here, yes, it is. And the writing system that I showed you previously is one of the famous scripts that came out of Kemet. And the bone that we had the descriptions on there, the glyphics was written on there. Yes, and there's a whole lot of history behind that. But I want to know, how did you get this, my dear brother? I'm curious. I'm very curious, because this is advanced knowledge. It's good. This is advanced knowledge. See, and you have to do serious research to find that. Got to do it. You got to do serious. You're not just find it by just happenstance. You're not, because the Toubab systems are not going to give you this. Okay. Now we have scientists, yes, that uncovered this, who are rightful, and they disseminated it out. But that is another matter all in itself. We have to seek what we yes, and yes, we do, and that's why I'm talking today, to help us to gain this knowledge. Now, let me go back to something here. They travel, and this situation here, people will say, because we've had many pundits say, well, it's impossible for somebody from the interstellar space to come to visit another human being. But you know what? We have other parts of the world. We had Amerindians, the Indians of the Americas, also had their encounters as well. The Olmec culture down in Mexico, southern part of Mexico. They also claimed they were visited, and they showed in their styles that they were visited from outer space. See, so we know that, and we have other Africans too that said they were visited as well. There's a theory that said that the Africans, were beginning to die out when Subhanahu wa ta'ala had put us on this earth, and we begin to open up the earth for us to travel, many of us begin to die off. It's alleged, some of our ancestors allege that Subhanahu wa ta'ala then brought another people who were black from interstellar space into the earth. And they intermarried with the smaller black people that were there on earth today. And in order to improve the race, so that way we can go to spread to the rest of the parts of the world, because we're dying off. Whatever the situation, this is what was said. I'm not saying it's true. This is conjecture, but some of our wise Africans who were in the mystery systems said this. That's why the Watusi, and there's I forgot some of the other ones who are very tall, 7 feet, some are near 8 feet in length, height. are those who descended from interstellar space. This is what some of our wise men were saying, that they are the remnants that Subhanahu wa ta'ala put them there to say, look, I brought some others on this earth as well. And also the thought too about some of the Wolof is another group in West Africa who are very tall, but have a muscular frame that's not common among most black folk. The Watusi and there's I'm trying to remember the name of some other ones who are very, 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 very tall, right? They don't have the common characteristics of most Africans. They don't. Yes, they're African and black and all that, but they're characteristic because of their height and so forth and so on. See, this is something, again, coming out of the mystery schools. It's conjecture because I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm just giving you what our ancestors said, and they said this thousands of years ago. They said these beings came from this star system. They call them Nomo, as you heard me say. The Dogon, as a plethora of Africans leaving camp, all express some extraterrestrial contacts. You look at the Yoruba, you look at many of them, Bambara, you look, all have had some type of contact or something with some superior beings. So how can we dismiss that? When you have a man who is over 3,000, 4,000, you have not seen him or had anything to do with him since the time of Messer, okay, I mean in Kempt, and now he's way down in the Congo. How could he relate a story about some extraterrestrials who came from the space and he was visited? And then those over here, the Dogon said they were visited. And we left records of these visits by hieroglyphics. We wrote, we showed diagrams of who came. The Indians, the Amerindians down in Mexico did the same thing. See? So these are fascinating topics, brothers and sisters. They said that they came and they gave our ancestors there in Kempt and the Dogon and some others of our people this working of the interstellar space. But here is where you heard me talk earlier. They made the fatal mistake of adding another worship to the supreme God. That's right. This is where the juju comes in. This is where the obia comes in. This is where the orissa comes in. This is where the ifa comes in. See? And we did not leave Kempt with that. And this is why the mystery schools always had problems, because when we had some of our brothers who deviated from what they learned from the mystery systems, they begin to develop their own religion. And that's what we see today. And then others just forgot religion all in itself. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us proof. If he sent people down to us, angels, on this earth to give us extreme knowledge. The scientists today are looking at the Phonol rice and trying to figure it out. And there's comments made that it's not from this earth. Where did it come from? Who gave it to us? The Dogon equates this rice to the Sirius Star system and use this rice as an example of it. Where did this rice come from, brothers and sisters? You do your research on this. It's a rice that's totally different. They say it's very small. You can barely see it with the naked eye. That's not like most rice. See? They begin worshiping also the extraterrestrials, and they begin to draw them, and they begin to make pictures of them, and they begin to worship them. And this is a problem. This fatal flaw helped to set a pattern on the continent that led to our demise. It's true. See, now, again, the doggone and no different. When Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us knowledge, he said, I'm showing you my greatness. I'm showing you my mercy towards you. I've given you information to help you to spread this knowledge on this earth. I'm telling you that I am the supreme. It's me. I'm Allah in Arabic language, or I'm, Jehovah, or other name. We have a name in ancient Kemet language. I'll get to this in a bit. And then we begin to deviate from that. Now, when I'm saying here, brothers and sisters, I'm giving you something, don't misconstrue. I'm giving you historical facts. Now, what you want to believe, me as a Muslim intellectual and scholar or imam or whatever you want to call me, I'm not saying that you who worship and you practice juju, okay, and I'm telling you you're this, that. No, I'm not saying that, brothers and sisters. I'm not saying that. Each one of us has the right to worship. Subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran that there's no compulsion. I can't force anybody to believe like me. But I have to give you a history on what happened. I've been leading you up for weeks about this because you hear me talk about juju, you hear me talk about Orisa, Ifa, and so forth and so on. And people using magic and black magic, what we know as tempestuous arts. Yes, they said it comes out of the Messer. Some secret societies used it, but it was not a massive thing among the people because the mystery school systems didn't practice juju. Subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them. You look. I tell you something. Anybody who dispute with me of this, you look at all of these so-called aberrations of the religions that came out of camp. Did any of them have all this knowledge? No, they did not. They did not have this. Those who get all this knowledge, they did not have this type of worship. They did not have that. See, so this is something, again, it's an argument. I'm not trying to tell you need to come back to Islam or whatever, because when many of us left out, we left out from Messer, out of camp, in Tawheed. A lot of the mystery schools, we're in Tawheed. Many were in Tawheed. We know that for a fact because we have documentation from there talking about Tawheed. We have one famous pharaoh under Tawheed. We know that. And we also know by reading some of the things that some of our ancestors wrote, they, again, expressed things talking about the human body and so forth and so on, talking about how we're, the creations and so forth and so on. This knowledge was given to them by Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a fact that I had to mention. Now I'm going to get into some more of this here, and then I'll be closing. And it's funny, I don't see it. They removed it. I got to go back to get it out because I see they removed it. They removed it out. Let me see. Okay, no, here it is here. Brothers, sisters, and I'll be closing in this, and I'll have another segment in a couple of days, inshallah ta'ala. The Dogon people, the Mende people, the Fotofola, the Yoruba, the Tiv, the Ifa, the all of the ethnic groups running, the Bantu coming all the way down out of Egypt. All of them had this, which Medu Nefer, This here means divine word of God in the ancient Kept language. The writing systems that we're talking about today, that our African brothers developed out of Kemt, and the variations, because they drifted away, and the variations, and they had, was under this system. So it's telling you, brothers and sisters, that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave this knowledge for us to worship him. And all writing systems, even those in Europe, when they developed, and those in Asia, developed out of our system of Kemt. That's right, brothers and sisters. And we believe that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave us this. And we developed a system under this. And again, we deviated from it, and we begin to develop things that was wrong. And this is why I said to you that when we look at something like this, this is hard hitting, and it's probably going to upset a lot of people, because we have people who say religion is this and that and so forth and so on. But what I ask those who are very angry with me because of things about religion and all that, but what do you say about your ancestral brothers and this here? Medu Nether, huh? What do you say about that? When the brothers who talk, like last week, I had one brother, he was very angry, I see, eventually with me, because he said religion doesn't do anything for nobody. Well, you're talking against your ancestral brothers, because why, when they left out of Kemt, out of Egypt, they had a system. And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave them a system of worship and gave them a system of writing. And again, even in Kemt, they began to develop, hundreds of gods and so forth and so on, which Subhanahu wa Ta'ala didn't authorize them to do. And that's why eventually in time, he allowed the Europeans, the Toubab, to come and conquer Kemt. And when we begin to leave, to go to escape away from the Toubab invading armies, we had this system in place. So, and we developed the Giz script. And I want to give you something on this. The brothers who stayed closer to Kemt, the writing systems are so close to the Medu Nefer system. But those who went further away, like the Yoruba, the Fola, the Bambara, the Mende, their script is a little different. See, as we start going into Central Africa, the script began to change, but we have commonalities, of course. I give you an example of what I'm talking about. You look at the United States. We all know this. Anyone who lives in the United States for any period of time, you know this. When you go down to the southern states, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, some parts of Florida, even some parts of Texas, they have accents. We know a southern accent, we call. And then the brothers out of LA and the West Coast, they have their own style of speaking. And the brothers in New York and the East Coast have their style. See? But they were all home base was what? In the South, because that's where we were taken first, right? As slaves. We were taken to the South, but then they broke away and they left. They began to develop their own systems. This is what happened when they left Messer. They began to develop their own systems. But the commonality is still there. If you look at the full script, you look at all the other scripts, the Kempele, the Mende, you see here, the Bete, all the Wolof, all of us have a commonality in our writing systems. Bambara, all of us have a commonality in there. well. And the Dogon uses the Macina Fulfulde dialect as the basis more of their language. And so we have to ask the question, why is that? See? So, brothers and sisters, this is the second episode here to give you more history, to get you to think. I'm giving you this knowledge for you to ponder what I'm saying, especially those who will see this in the future. And I'm hoping, brothers and sisters, that those who look at this, please subscribe and so forth and so on, because you're not going to get this kind of talk everywhere. But I mean business when I'm talking about educating our people. I mean business. I'm out here to play. And I may ruffle some feathers because all of us have been brainwashed to a degree. All of us. And I'm trying to hone us back in to where our ancestral brothers thought and how they operated. And I want you to look back at them with a source of pride also and learn. How do they worship Subhanahu wa ta'ala? They worship Subhanahu wa ta'ala in the correct way. But again, what happened to us? Why so many of our people don't have knowledge today? They can't read and write. When we had systems in place, but the Toubab when they begin to colonize, they begin to destroy the mystery systems and begin to destroy all of the other educational apparatus that educated our masses. And it's still with us today. And it's not right. It's not right. How you doing, my dear brother? It's true. Yes. 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 Religious titles, yes, because we see things today like Christianity. They said that they're in Tawheed. They're not in Tawheed. We know that they have the Trinity. That's not Tawheed. We understand that. We know this today. And our systems predated Arabic. Our systems predated Hebrew and Aramaic and all these other famous systems, writing and language and so forth and so on. Our writing systems is at least 2,000 to 2,500 older than the Sumerian documents they said were the oldest. Now we know this is not, because we know that the systems that they found in Messer preceded them at least 2,000 years. See? So, and we have our variations on the way we write, which is similar to, again, what was brought from Messer. That's why the script, the Ge'ez, is very, very similar. See? Thank you, my dear brother. Thank you for Jazakallah khairan. Yes, I'm trying to give this this talk to us so we can get to think and ponder, because we have to ask what happened to us. I just gave you scholarship of our ancestors. They weren't monkeys jumping out of trees with a banana in their mouths. They were educated. They had a writing system well before the Toubab came. We had an educational system well before the Toubab came. We had an agricultural system well before the Toubab came to wreak havoc. What happened to us? Why don't we look back at our ancestors to find out how they handle business on the continent? We have to ask that. See, we have to ask these questions like that. We have to ask that. And we have to ask questions, how do we develop these writing systems and so forth and so on, okay? We developed all these systems of writing, educational systems, but we're some of the less educated people in the world. How can that be? When our ancestor brothers had this here is our educational system, and even the mathematics. We had mathematicians well before the Europeans had any notions on mathematics. What happened to us? See, and we had a communication system of writing, and what happened to us? We became illiterate. See? And it's we know that Toubab, when they colonized us, we know they had a detrimental effect. Yes, they did. And they still to this day. Why do you think they go after people like me? Just like they did in 300 AD. The Roman Church wanted to make an end to the Black historical excellence of education. So he sent the soldiers to Kent, and they burnt Kent. They burnt all of the mystery schools and stuff and killed all of the scholars who had all this knowledge about the interstellar space. But some of them were smart. They knew they were going to die. So what did they do? They buried them in underground caverns. Those documents were found later in history. And there was one famous book out of this called the Book of the Dead. There's another name for it. It's an English translation, but there's another name for it. And in there, it gave the history. It gave the lessons on how Black people were educated, the writing systems, the mathematical systems, the knowledge of space. You find that in this book. They found it. It was hidden because when the Romans came, they said, look, we tired of these Black people. We don't want, this is it. We don't want to see this anymore. And they massacred all of the scribes, all of the scholars. They killed them. When it came to modern times of slavery, the people like me, they killed us as well. What are they doing in modern times today? They're charging us with terrorism. It's the same thing. Anybody with any knowledge from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala give us this so we can spread it, they go after them. They try to keep them in their house. They put them in prison or they kill them outright. The Toubab is still in this business of trying to suppress the Black excellence and knowledge. And anyone listen to me today, I'm gonna see if I can write this into here. I'll give the name. This is the Phonol rice. Okay, I just put that in there here. Now, you do your research on this. Okay, you guys do your research. This rice here, this is a integral part because we need to know where this rice came from. It don't come from any place on this earth. Where did it come from? The Dogon people have this rice. Where did it come from? There's no other rice related to it on this earth. Most rices are a family originating out of Africa. We know that when they spread across rice, and so they have a relationship. But this rice here is not related to any of the rices that we know in West Africa today. So where did the Dogon get this rice from? It didn't develop from a strain that came out of Ghana. It did not. Modern day Ghana or Nigeria. So where did he get it? See, these are things I'm asking. I want you to think about how great our ancestral brothers were. And when we didn't worship right, we got spanked like we have been today. When we have all this knowledge, now we're deaf and dumb. It's like we're walking in the wilderness. We don't know which way is right or left. We have colonizers. We have the Toubab who are running us and governing us and killing us. See, so when we had these writing systems, who gave us that? Huh? Who gave us these writing systems? It wasn't the Toubab. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave us these writing systems, these complex writing systems. And this is what I'm trying to get you to open your mind. There's going to be a lot who's going to be upset with me over this. All of these systems are, among others, the Capelli, of course, we know out of Liberia. The Mende, we know where they're in Sierra Leone, the Gambia, in the Senegambia region, we know. But we have many many groups, many different ethnic groups today that have writing systems, but nobody uses them, nobody studies them, and nobody is trying to ascertain about that. Because when you read these scripts, and when you put down these scripts and you begin to learn these scripts, there's a message in them. There's a mystery knowledge in these scripts, brothers and sisters. I don't care if it's from the Wolof, from the Fula, from the Gapele, or the Loma people, or the Mende people, or the Bambara. There's a mystery system located in this. You learn it, the knowledge it takes off. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us that. And this is what I'm trying to harp to you today, brothers and sisters. Please spread this tape to wake up our brothers and sisters, because we are still sleeping. We had excellence and brilliance from our ancestral brothers, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that those who worship him and only him are not mushrikeen. They're not like the Trinity of the Christians today, okay? Because the Trinity of the Christians today didn't follow Jesus, because Jesus, alayhi salam, said that you worship Subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no places in the Bible that actually delineate clearly that he said he's a son of God, meaning anybody can be the son of God. And our scholars have talked about this. But when they argue with me, say, no, this is this. But why did, when Jesus was pressed by some of the people that asked, how do I pray? He had a message. Remember the Lord's Prayer, they call it? It's Tawheed, isn't it? It didn't say to worship him. It said who to worship? Subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what I'm trying to get at. All of these systems that Subhanahu wa ta'ala granted us, all these learning systems, is from Subhanahu wa ta'ala. We deviated from that, didn't we? And look at us today. That's what I'm trying to say. Look at us today, brothers and sisters. Look at us today. Look how we are. See, and we have these systems. Look at us. Look at us today and measure our knowledge. Yes, there's things we know, but we don't know all of the knowledge that our brothers had. We don't have all of it, because under the system, under the kept system of worship, this is here in the translation in Kemetic language. Medu Nether means divine word of God, meaning that Subhanahu wa ta'ala transmitted this information to our people. And he developed a system for us, an educational system under his guide, under his wisdom. And he gave us this system, and the Bambara took it, the Fula took it, the Capelli took it. All of these ethnic groups took this knowledge. And they began, when they left, they kept this knowledge and they spread it among the people. And then we begin to deviate from it. And then look what has happened to us. So I'm long today, brothers and sisters. But again, I'm not going to apologize for that, because this is, again, an educational thing for us. Many of us didn't know about this, and it gets us to think, because even I forget many times that we had literacy well before the Arabs came, well before the Hebrews came over here, well before the Europeans came, well before the Persians came over here. We had a system well before them. Our writing system predates theirs at least 2,000, in some cases 2,500 years or longer. We had this system. So I'm hoping that today, brothers and sisters, this is something that you can take and start to run. I want brothers and sisters to look up, if you look in the chat, the Phonol rice. You guys do some research on it. Be careful what you, because I saw something in Google today where some racist Toubab claimed that this rice came out of Europe. No, don't believe that. Don't believe that. That's a bona fide lie. That's a lie. It didn't come out of Europe. So be careful when you read, because there's a lot of negative and misinformation, just like they said about the Dogon people. That one famous writer said that the Dogon people were a mixture of Greeks, and he called us, can you believe this amount of time? He said river Negroes. Yeah. So you have to be careful. See, when it was a white audience, and he was talking about the Dogon people. He investigated. He said, yeah. He said the Greeks came out from Greece across the Sahara, yeah, okay, and into Mali, and then they met with, he said, river Negroes, and they intermarried, and that's how we got the Dogon. Don't believe that. That's why you got to be very careful. You'll see some. If you do research on the Phonol rice, you're probably going to find some bizarre stuff. They'll say it came out of Ireland or something. That's not true. Don't believe that. That is something. But there's some information about this now. But the Dogon people gave a good history about this Phonol rice. They gave a good history about this. And again, it's related to this contact with the people from Sirius. So the next time I'll get now into them, talking about their belief system, meaning their knowledge. I'm not going to talk about how they perverted the religion. No, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm a Muslim, but I'm going to talk to you about the knowledge of what they had up in space. I'll give you all this. You see the names that I had put in the banner. Let me see, like you had Tolo. This, brothers and sisters, is out of the Macina Fulfulde dialect. This is a name again of one of the stars there, and there's also Tolo. Okay, excuse me, I don't know how that came about. Yes, and again, these names and stuff are out of the Macina Fulfulde dialect. Why our brothers use this language to write about the space? That's a good question. I wish I could go to ask them, but I know Mali would never let me come there, and any African state now would not let me come, to do investigation and do research, and also to spread knowledge. They will not let me. That's funny, isn't it? But this is what I'm talking about. They want to keep the knowledge from us, brothers and sisters. That's why, and we have this from every era and century. We have the same problem. They're educated, are maligned, and are attacked and whatnot. Because they, especially here in Africa, they want to keep this knowledge away from you. They want you to look at the Toubab as your savior. They want you to worship him, and they want you to follow him. He give you economic system, so you'll fail. And he'll give you a system with causing the people to riot and overthrow the governments, all that kind of stuff. But if they went back to the Nether and go back to the system, if you don't want to use the Islamic system, you go back to ancient Egypt, to Kemp, and look at the system of writing, and look how they wrote, and they talked about things, how agriculture, what to do about surgery, how to, even when people die, how do you preserve the body? All this we'll find in that system, brothers and sisters. You'll find all of that in this system, in this beautiful system here. You'll find everything in there. Agriculture, how to fight, what to do about marriage, how do your conduct. It's almost like Polacco. It's very, we got from Kemp. Now we all know the Fotofola, they came from where? From Kemp. The Hausa came from Kemp. The Yoruba came from Kemp. All of us from West Africa and the coastal and the Sahara, even the Amazigh, the Tuareg, all came from Messer, from Kemp. All of us came from there. All of us. See, so this, again, brothers and sisters, is another episode here on the Dogon people, and I'm giving you a history to bring you up to speed. Then now we'll start getting into the technical details of what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave the Dogon people, which is far greater and different than any other people on this earth. And the Europeans, the Toubab, cheated because they had telescopes that they developed. And then when it came down, because they heard Africans had it without these telescopes, and they became to do an investigation. See? And so we had this knowledge well before they got it. They began to develop when they came to visit the Dogon people. They gave them all this knowledge about the space, and they gave them also knowledge about the circulation of the body. They began to do their research, and they found it to be the case. So all of this is related, brothers and sisters. The language systems, development from the mystery schools, all of this. So now you can start doing your research and everything, and this will help you. This will help to educate you and whatnot. And last thing on this, and I know people disagree with this, but the Islamic system is a similar in conception. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is again bringing Tawheed back to the earth, because now we got billions under Tawheed today. This is the recipient of what happened when our brothers from Kemp brought Tawheed, and they were fought. Wars are fought to stop it, just like they are today. Tawheed is not, I mean, they're trying to stop Islam because Islam is under Tawheed. The imam system, the school systems is similar to that of the mystery systems of our ancient ancestors. There's differences, yes, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has now given us a guide. He said this is the last guide here to spread the knowledge among the people. It's similar. Gifted individuals, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has picked, learn under the system. The Toubab, along with the hypocrites, have destroyed the system. Look at Sudan. Sudan had all these beautiful systems. Even African Americans came to Sudan to study under the imam systems, right? Similar to the systems we had in ancient Egypt. See, the same thing. And they destroyed it. See, and this is what I was talking about. Educated men in Islam today try to disseminate. A lot of them are in trouble. And this has been part of the system. This is not only the Toubab brothers and sisters, even black faces who don't want to see you return to your greatness. They're hypocrites. They don't want you to go back to your ancestors and look and see the writing systems like this. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you to learn that. They don't want you to study that. They don't want you to know about that when we had pyramids, we had chambers inside, and we had those chambers, and we developed instruments that we used in there that charts the interstellar space. They didn't want you to know that. See, they want to stop you from that. This is what I'm talking about. They don't want this knowledge here. They don't want you to have this. They want you to still stay the way you are, illiterate, confused. You don't know right from left. When your ancestral brothers had all of this knowledge beforehand, the Gi script, there's a message in this, brothers and sisters. This is why it comes out of the mystery systems. There's something to it. Arabic, Hebrew, Ge'ez, Aramaic, Bambara, Fula, all of these languages in their writing systems, there's a message, and they all point to what? To Subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's given this knowledge. And he gave us these writing systems so we could convey his message to the people. That's the bottom line. Why did he give you the information, Artamar ancestors, for inner space? To show his greatness, to say there is things in the heavens. Why did he send the prophets? See, that's what I'm trying to say. You have to look at it from the standpoint of the bare essence. So, brothers and sisters, I will conclude this today, and I'll do another episode here in some days with Subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. And I'm hoping that you like this talk. Please spread this tape, and please get brothers to subscribe, so that way when we have idiots get on YouTube to talk about ancient Egypt, you'll be able to discuss it intelligently without getting angry. When you go to school and you have a historian tell you that there was no history in here Africa except when the Toubab came to enslave us and to colonize us, then okay, you know, that's our history. Now you have something you can fight back and you have pride. You have to ask the system what happened to our writing system that gave us all this knowledge, the hidden text that was given by Subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. All these writing systems didn't come from the Toubab. We gave them the writing systems. That's right. How do you think the Greek, that's why you look at the Greek, where do you think the Greek got their systems writing from? From what? From Kemp, from us. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us that. We have to return to our greatness. But in order for us to return to the greatness to the future, we got to go back to the past because we lost it by design. The people who's with the devil is making sure that we don't look back here to find out about the Macina dialects that is used, or about the Bambara dialects that is used, and the writing systems, about the Mende writing systems, which was complex and beautiful. They don't want you to know about that. They don't want you to look back there to go back there and see how your brothers, the Mende, how they handle business. They don't want that. See? And that's just why I'm saying you have to take the initiative, brothers and sisters. I'm hoping I gave you the emphasis to now to go to look up your history and to learn from what our ancestors, brothers, learned from. If you can't do that, you pick up the Quran and you learn the Arabic text. You should now look at the Arabic because Arabic is a black language. That's why they call it Afro-Asiatic. That's right, not Europe. Afro-Asiatic, because why? It's related to the what? The Netter system. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave and sent this language down. See, so all of this is related. So if you want knowledge, you have to look at his writing systems. Arabic is a writing system developed by Subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why it's a message in it. Why do you think that the Quran is so powerful? Because the writing system in it, there's a message in it. When you learn it, you can understand. He says that the Arabic is for those who can discern, it's easy to learn. So you can learn his message. He's done this. You have to look at the bare fundamental essence of worship. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us these language systems. We write it. He gave it to us. Then we understand we can worship him and worship him properly. Not like it is today, where we got stupidity of our brothers putting up a white man in their house and going to worship and going to church, screaming, hollering, and falling out in the thing, giving up all their money. All this kind of crazy stuff was not authorized by Subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, it was not. All of these scripts that developed are not from Subhanahu wa ta'ala. The English, the Latin, all that is not from Subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Arabic is. The fuller script is. The Gi script is. The Babmun, all of these groups, the Compelli system, all of this came from Subhanahu wa ta'ala. The English systems are developed by man. They developed their own systems of writing. That's theirs. Subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't give them this. But these writing systems we're talking about today, here, all these writing systems, all the stuff from all these, all of these variations, all of these scripts are from Subhanahu wa ta'ala, directly from him to us. To us. So, brothers and sisters, with that, I'll end it. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.